Today on CityCast Nashville, booze goes hand in hand with country music. But what happens when Americans, especially Gen Z, are drinking less? I'm joined by Joseph Hudak, senior music editor at Rolling Stone and host of Rolling Stone's Nashville Now podcast, to talk about what this shift could mean for country songs, celebrity bars, liquor brands, and Nashville itself. It's Monday, March 23rd. I'm your host, Marie Cecile Anderson, and this is what Nashville's talking about. Joe, what is your favorite country song that references drinking? I'm going to go first. Mine's Drunk on a Plane by Dierks Bentley.
Good choice.
Do you know that one?
Of course, yes.
Of course. Just brilliant. What about you?
My favorite song about drinking is, and it's also my favorite country song of all time. They just go hand in hand. It is Gary Stewart's She's Actin' Single, I'm Drinking Doubles.
Yes!
The best drinking song and best country song of all time. As I will die on that hill.
Okay, so you wrote this article, this incredible article for Rolling Stone titled, People Are Drinking Less Than Ever. What's country music to do? Honestly, I read the headline. I was like, as a Nashvilleian, it's like, oh my goodness, what are we to do? What made you want to start looking into this?
There's a couple of reasons. The first one is the idea that exactly what the headline says, that people are drinking less for various reasons. I mean, some of them, it's a health thing. Some I hear a lot of stories anecdotally too from bar owners in town that Gen Z is just not drinking. Millennials drank and continue to drink from what I understand, but Gen Z was really just not into it. And so that's why we're seeing the rise of mocktails and a lot of the fake cannabis down here in Tennessee. But I mean, so many are just gravitating towards something like that. Or I even read in a story that the Times just put out about, they took a different tact with this story, not about country music, which I guess is my purview, but they asked how it affects restaurants that aren't selling enough alcohol. And so these restaurants are on hard times. And one of the folks that they interviewed for that story said, Gen Z just come in, take their photo, have one drink, and then go home. You know, isn't that wild? So it's the photo thing. It's all about, did you really drink it if you didn't take a photo of it? So that was one reason. And then the other reason was in our genre of country music, especially mainstream country music here in Nashville, so many artists have their own liquor line, right? George Strait has a tequila. The band Midland have a tequila. Riley Green has a whiskey. Chris Stapleton famously has a whiskey. Dierks Bentley, who you just mentioned, Drunk on a Plane, he has a whiskey. Eric Church has a whiskey line. We can just go on and on. Tanya Tucker has a tequila. All of this is just hand in hand with what country music has always been about, which is drinking. So my thought was like, gosh, if this is true and the trend is bending towards people, particularly young people, not drinking as much, what happens? Does the songwriting change? Are you now, instead of writing lyrics about drinking whiskey and being drunk on a plane and having a beer, are you now writing about taking gummies? Or are you are they in the writer's room saying like, hey, we should write a song about a mocktail?
No.
Right? No, right?
Oh my goodness. I know. Okay. My brain is just, this is all so much information.
So there's so much, right?
Like,
so
what are we going to do?
When you really go down that rabbit hole, you start thinking like, wow, okay, so songwriting is affected. Then how is it affecting the bottom line of artists who have lent their name or licensed their name or even, bought their own whiskey brand?
Right.
There's a lot there.
Why have drinking songs been so dominant in country music?
Man, there's probably some smart intellectual answer that I'm not qualified to give. I just never feel that way. I just think it's, everyone talks about country music being the common person's music. And in that respect, you would hear songs about drinking beer, the common, let's just say for the sake of this conversation, the common man's drink, right? You get off of work, you have a beer. You finish mowing the lawn, you have a beer. All of these things, you go fishing or hunting, what do? When you're done at the end of the day, you have a beer. It's just hand in hand. And I think that's just been part of what country music has always done, right? There's the great joke, right? What happens when you play a country song backwards? You get your wife back, your dog comes back, your truck starts again, and your beer is like magically full again. But, it's part of this culture, right? Stereotypically or not.
I love a good tractor song, personally.
Good tractor song, yeah.
Love tractor songs.
Hey,
Drinking songs and tractor songs.
The problem is when you try to drink a beer when you're mowing the lawn on a riding lawnmower, at least for my cheap ass one, it just shakes me around so much that by the time I make 3 passes, my beer is flat. So you
gotta
really
get the thing that clips on.
I guess so. So it doesn't shake. Is that right?
That's right. It just sits. Yeah. I mean, well, the trick really is to drink most of it before you get on. So it's pretty. it's half empty.
Hey.
So it's not slipping around.
Whatever works.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Are drinking songs actually declining, or is this just a fear for the future? Given how long it takes a song to go from a writer's room to the radio, when will we know if songwriters are actually changing their tropes?
Yeah. Well, from what I understand, that is not really happening, right? Right now, drinking songs are going to be around forever. Thus says Chris Stapleton, with whom I spoke for this story. He had a commercial coming out during the Super Bowl for his Traveler whiskey brand, which is a line that is produced by Buffalo Trace in Kentucky, where Stapleton is from. Buffalo Trace is owned by the monster conglomerate Sazerac. And so they ponied up the money, bought a big Super Bowl ad about Traveler whiskey. And so they said, you want to talk to him about the commercial? And I'm like, I sure do, because then I could ask about this. And so this is how I was able to get him to talk about it. And I was really pleased that he gave me such a good answer. And he just said, like, look, much like anything, cultural norms are cyclical, and maybe drinking isn't in fashion right now. People are smoking more weed or finding whatever that thing is. But he said, we'll always have those peaks and valleys. But he also said when he's in the writing room, he has not had anyone come in and say, you know what, we shouldn't write a song about whiskey today. And I talked to a bunch of songwriters, and one of them was Neil Mason, who is the drummer for Cadillac 3 and also in management and writes a lot of big songs. And he's been sober for 4 years. And he says he personally writes less about drinking today because he's sober. But if drinking belongs in the story they're telling, then he will do that, stay true to the song.
Well, I don't want to brag, but I was actually hanging out with some Gen Zers this weekend.
Look out.
And it was so funny. I had a fridge full of booze and I was offering everybody drinks and they all declined. They said, I don't drink. So
wow.
Like, how much of this is about music versus just a broader cultural shift in the younger generation of Americans drinking less? Because the Time story that you just referenced mentioned that this might be due to economics too. It's just so expensive to go out and drink these days.
That is correct. Right. I mean, welcome to this one trend that I absolutely love in Nashville as a drinker is that we've really seen the shot and the beer combos come back on menus.
Yes.
That wasn't the case when I first moved here in 2012. Like I came from Philly, and in Philadelphia, the citywide is legendary. It's a shot of whiskey and a PBR, and you get that for a very affordable price. And that just kind of gets you through the day as needed. And recently I've seen that in a lot of bars here in town from like the local that I love. I love Martha, My Dear. And there's something about that just is very comforting. So that being said, boy, I really sound like I have a problem, don't I?
Hey, I'm right there with you, buddy.
Hey, let me know.
Get off my lawn.
Let me know when you do the recovery episode.
Right.
But in all seriousness, I think, things are expensive. Gen Z can't even fantasize about buying a house any longer. And so to be able to go out and spend that much money on some high-end cocktail, I can see why it would be the first thing you'd cut out of your budget and find some other way to be social. And I think regardless of whether you're drinking a mocktail or a ginger ale or a Jack and Coke, I worry about where the socialization part comes in, especially after the pandemic and how much time we all had alone and being just isolated from folks. Like not to be able to go into a bar or wherever you go and interact with people of your own age. I don't know. It kind of scares me, especially as we're all so addicted to technology and our phones. And this, goes right into the question of AI and every other thing. What are we doing for our human interaction? For better or worse, a lot of times that involves a beverage.
Hi, CityCast listeners. This is David Plotz. I'm the CEO of CityCast, but I also have another job. I'm one of the hosts of the Political Gabfest, Slate's politics podcast. Every week, I get on mic with my co-hosts Emily Bazelon and John Dickerson, and we talk about politics and a lot more about other things that we care about. The Gabfest has been going for more than 20 years because the three of us love talking to each other, and we have an amazing community of listeners. If you like the open-hearted, curious way CityCast approaches cities, I think you'll like the Political Gabfest too. Stream it on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast.
Let's talk about how celebrity finances play into some of this. It's so hard to make a living as a touring artist right now, so it seems like you do have to kind of double dip into a different industry in order to make your bottom line. Do country artists need alcohol brands or bars to stay afloat?
I think the thing about celebrity country music, whiskey lines or tequila lines or whatever, I mean, that doesn't really work. You have to have one of two things, either a really great product or a really recognizable name, you know, someone who wants to go buy whoever it may be, you know, buy their beer or buy their whiskey. But, you know, if you don't have name recognition, then what happens? You know, then you're, I don't know how much you're making. The thing that really I've been thinking about a lot is like Nashville and our tourism industry. Let's say Gen Z is going to come to Nashville. What are they going to do on Broadway?
Right. Artists, alcohol brands, and especially celebrity name bars go hand in hand right here in Nashville. We're even seeing country stars like Chris Young open bars in Midtown now, not just downtown. At the same time, other celebrity bars are closing or changing hands. Jelly Rolls is on the market, for example. What's to come of our downtown and tourism if these non-alcoholic trends continue?
I don't know. That's where I really want to see what happens. What happens when Broadway sees a turn in alcohol sales? And I don't know exactly. I haven't talked to anyone there distinctly, but most of the folks I've talked to have been in bars in East Nashville and a bunch in Midtown. And I have heard, like I said, anecdotally, that they're just not selling as much alcohol. You know,
well, there is that non-alcoholic bar, Ashley McBride's. Apparently, they're serving mocktails and stuff, and I was a little shocked that was on Broadway. But
it is. But to be fair, I thought the same thing. But they do have a full alcohol menu too, so it's not NA only. Yeah,
I just pictured some tourists just accidentally going into a non-alcoholic bar and being like, "Oh no,
this isn't Nashville.
This isn't Nashville. I want my money back."
I think we have to go back to like the words of Chris Stapleton and just what he said, where it's peaks and valleys. So, I mean, I really find it hard to believe that A, we're as health conscious as we think we are, and B, that people are just going to stop drinking for some other reason. Maybe instead what we'll see, good Lord willing, is prices will drop a little bit, you know, and it won't be a $9 beer on Broadway. Maybe that's the case, you know, but I don't know. I don't know when have we reached critical mass yet with celebrity bars downtown and in Midtown? I would say so.
Right.
But yet more are coming. Kane Brown's opening one where Valentine used to be. I just read a report that Cole Swindell is doing I don't think his name will be on it, but it's a sports bar that he's invested in coming to Broadway. I don't know. It just goes, it's such a deeper issue for me because like I just used to love walking Broadway and just hear country music coming out of every bar. And I just can't get past listening to Journey and Def Leppard on Broadway. And I love that stuff. I came up in hair metal. I mean, I'm proud hair metal fan and proud, you know, Journey fan even, but it breaks my heart.
Same.
Like if Roberts ever goes, we're done. Just shut it down.
Just shut it down. It will be a very, very sad day.
Yeah.
If
I don't think that'll ever happen, but I bring up this example all the time. I have family in Vegas and I've been going to Vegas since I was like 13 and 87. And I just watched Vegas change every few years. You know, it was like still kind of gritty when I was going there in the 80s and early 90s as a kid. And then later on, it made that big shift into being very family friendly. And you had the Excalibur Castle and you had the Luxor Pyramid and all this stuff, the pirate show at Treasure Island. And then that got phased out by bottle service and the club scene. And, you know, now it's going through changes yet again. And I kind of we call ourselves Nash Vegas, or some folks do. I think those two cities are so joined culturally that we just haven't even acknowledged it as much yet. And I think what we've seen happen in Vegas over the last few decades is kind of where we're headed. People say, oh, we're going to be the next Atlanta or something like that. It's going to get so busy. I don't think so. I think we're just too tied to those few streets downtown as our driver, as we know with the holy grail of we want the Super Bowl to come. This is all what's happening, right? So what is it? What happens then? What happens when one of the artists who we mentioned who has a bar downtown doesn't have hits anymore, right? And then it's just you take the sign down and put another one up. How long until people start being like, yeah, this is full of shit?
My heart broke when they removed Taylor Swift from the mural downtown with the country music singers.
They did?
They did.
On Legends?
On Legends. Taylor Swift is not there.
Oh.
I'm not sure the year they took her away, but
I never knew that. Did they replace her with anyone?
It might have been like Reba or something, but I'm not sure.
Okay,
Don't quote me on that.
fair.
But that's where it's like there's always a push-pull down there.
There's a push-pull. As things fall out of favor or things aren't quote unquote country enough anymore, then it gets disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of disappeared and push-pull, new Nashville, old Nashville, how do you think this shift might impact music venues in town, especially just like restaurants? So much of their revenue depends on alcohol sales.
Yeah, my gosh, that's the real question, and I talked to a lot of friends of mine who work with like MVan and the indie club scene here. We just did a live podcast, speaking of, that I host for Rolling Stone. Rolling Stone's Nashville now. And we had a live podcast interview with Nolene Hoffman, who's a singer-songwriter from Canada. We did that out of D's, and that whole day was part of a celebration of our indie venues and indie artists. And talking to some of my friends at MVan, they said, some venues are talking about going nonprofit so that then they could be eligible for various benefits and whatnot. So that could be a thing. But if you're not drinking, what happens? We've heard stories about clubs, taking a cut of merchandise profits from the artists they book because they have to offset what they lost in booze. I don't know. It's a really great question. I don't know what the answer is. I think about it a lot, and I think about like in terms of what our government has done with, the tariff situation and ostracizing Canadian buyers of American whiskey, and like we're kind of doing it to ourselves. So there's again bigger questions for someone way more qualified to answer them than me.
It's not just been the songs. Country stars and alcohol is a huge, iconic visual image, whether it's Johnny Cash swigging from a bottle or Florida Georgia Line doing shots of Fireball. To your knowledge, are the artists themselves drinking less too?
Oh, that's such a great question. Yeah, that's been the case. One of the folks that I spoke to for this story, his name was Ryan Gill. He works for a company called Three Chords Bourbon, and they do a lot of partnerships with various artists of all genres. They do country. They have a whiskey with Drake White, Michael Ray. They had the Cadillac Three, and then they do some rock bands, Hailstorm. But he said, like, a lot of their work on his side of this business involves finding artists to collaborate with. And he said he never would have guessed that the hardest part would be finding artists that still drink. He said it's been a huge hurdle for them in the last couple of years.
I mean, I believe it. I think more and more people are concerned about health as we get older.
Yeah,
I mean, is alcohol poison? I think maybe. I don't know.
God. Oh, that story was so terrible. Wasn't it that report? It just,
right.
I shudder thinking about it.
Well, could moving on from alcohol actually expand country music's audience?
Oh, that's a great question, too. Yeah, I bet it can. I mean, I had a conversation with a songwriting friend the other night. We were at Duke's having a drink, and we were dissecting Ella Langley's big hit, Choosing Texas, and he thought that when the big chorus is Drinking Jack All By Myself, and he was like, why did they say Jack? He's like, why couldn't they have left it as Drinking By Myself? It's like, then you could have appealed to anyone. But in this particular case, it's just someone who drinks, let's say, Jack or alcohol. And I didn't think about it that way before, because I took the point the tact of saying like, well, it's called She's in Texas. And the fact that she's drinking Jack is associated with Tennessee. It's kind of like reinforcing that, if you don't know the song, that the cowboy who ran away back to Texas chose Texas. She's stuck in Tennessee all alone with her Tennessee product, Jack Daniels. So I see that's how I viewed it. But his point was really eye-opening to me. And like, why couldn't it have just been drinking all by myself? What if you're just hopped up on coffee or kombucha or something, right?
Right.
It could open up a whole new audience.
Well, how did you end? Tell the audience how you actually ended your article.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. One of the people I interviewed is Cameron Duddy, who's in the country trio Midland. And what a bunch of pirates those guys are. They're just hilarious and the best interviews ever. And I knew Cam was still, they put out this tequila called Insolito Tequila. And I said, what's your take on it? And we had a good conversation, and we started talking about the Gen Z angle and how they're not drinking as much. And his point was that country music talks about really common stuff, going to a bar, smoking a joint, fixing your car. And he said that's why it's so accessible and honest. And when I asked him about Gen Z, he said, hey, as long as they're writing what moves them, more power to them. But then he said, I just hope they don't start writing about Fortnite and Minecraft.
Oh, so good.
Which really made me laugh. And I'm glad we ended with that. Did you enjoy that line?
Too.
Did you like that?
I did. I was giggling. And then I actually quoted it in our Slack channel to the whole team because I thought it was so clever and fun.
I love that. Well, that's credit to him, not to me.
Well, thank you for the article. It's really given us a lot to think about and just what it means for Nashville. Because I keep having these conversations with friends about how has Nashville lost its true self? Where's our soul? If we have non-alcoholic beverages on Broadway, have we lost ourselves? Who are we?
Or have we expanded ourselves?
Right. Have we evolved?
Have we evolved? The future is unwritten. We're going to see what happens a year from now.
We'll see. I'll tell you what, I don't want to live in a place where I can't get a beer and a shot for under $6 though.
Isn't that great? Hey, where's your favorite beer and shot special in town? Go ahead, tell me.
Well, actually, I just went to Skinny Dennis and they had like a Tuesday night special.
That's their Coors Tuesdays, I think.
Yeah, it was cheap as hell.
My favorite remains the special at Duke's. I think it's $6 or $7 of Mexican beer and a shot of tequila. It's as good as it gets, man.
Yeah, truly. All right. Well, Nashville, if you're listening, please don't change.
Please don't change.
Please don't change. That's all for today here on CityCast Nashville. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Nashville neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell your friends? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our CityCast Nashville newsletter. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Toodles!